See, I sometimes undo people's shoelaces in rucks. I wonder if they'd look for that and I get sent off for that now. That's a worry thinking about I'm gonna have to stop doing that.
How do you have the time to undo somebody's like lace in a ruck?
When you're
He's
stuck
got
at
tiny
the
little hands. He's got tiny little hands.
Hello and welcome to RugbyPass Offload with me, Christina and Ryan. And today I'm joined by Ryan Wilson, Matt Stevens and Tommy Seymour to discuss all the highs, lows and controversies from the second test. How are you all? Tommy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm well. Good to see a couple of familiar faces.
over in Ballymena at the moment, are you?
I am, yes, Ryan. Yeah, you can see the accent changing already. So that's
Matt, he only left Glasgow about 2 months ago, and he's like swung happily back into the Ballymena accent.
Your Ballymena accent sounds like your Simon Zebo accent, and they are literally two different parts of the country as well. You need to start working on those.
Irish accent's an Irish accent for me. It just stays there. So
controversial.
Very controversial.
Well,
Ryan loves the controversy.
You shouldn't get hung up on accents anyway, Keys. All right, like, you get told you're English enough. You should know it's a sensitive subject for some.
it's not sensitive for me. Don't worry. How are you anyway, Matt?
Change the subject there, Ryan.
Good, thanks, Brian. Loving your impression of me. Sounds like I don't know what it sounds like. Someone from somewhere that doesn't look like me.
Hold on a minute. Shall I give you my favourite Afrikaans word? Wat 'n blommetjie.
Wat 'n blommetjie.
Oh yeah, that's lekker. That's my favourite. Wat 'n blommetjie.
Do you like that? What is a Ryan? What is a wat 'n blommetjie?
It is some sort of a vegetable, maybe, that they find like in water and they eat it. I saw a MasterChef once. No one knew what it was and they were looking for it, but I still don't know.
It's the oddest thing. It's like a flower that they grow in dams, and they cook the flour down in stews, and it thickens stews.
There you are. How do I know what that is?
Pie.
It's African corn flour.
Yeah. It's like oysters.
Yeah. Hey.
So I watched a bit of South African MasterChef, and everyone's like, "What are we doing? They were like, we need to cook meat," and then someone's like, "Where's the wat 'n blommetjie?"
Lockdown and daytime TV for you.
Oh mate, yeah. Tell me about
but you weren't even locked down when you were watching that.
No, I love cooking shows. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Let's talk about rugby. Let's talk about scrums again.
He was watching on his phone.
You know what, Matt? It was the first time I think ever I understood what scrums were last week. Like, you made it interesting.
Okay.
Well, I've been on the show with you, Ryan, since what? Like last September, October, and you couldn't do what Matt did in one episode.
I'm not really
I made scrums sexy. Hey?
You did. Yeah. It was super sexy. Oh, you missed it, Tommy. It was an episode.
Oh, I'm telling you what, if there's one thing I'm gutted I wasn't there for, it's a full breakdown of scrums. I'm telling you.
Well, talk about boring. How boring was the game?
I mean, a first half that lasted, 62 minutes? Was that about the same, or 64 minutes, just longer than Rassie's rant?
Yeah. Yeah. But the rant did its job, didn't it? I mean, that 62-minute first half allowed the Springboks to manage the game in the way they wanted it to be played. So, say what you want. I mean, for a red-blooded South African, Rassie is a saint kind of thing. Like, I know that's not going to happen. Rassie's going to be the reason that never happens again, and coaches will be sanctioned quite heavily after that. But he played the game massively there and got exactly what he won't admit this, but he got exactly what they wanted out of it.
So Matt, you think that Rassie's rant was a bit of a stroke of genius? Because I mean, the Boks definitely did have more luck with the big calls on Saturday. So how have the South Africans, how did they react to the rant?
I don't even know if it was about the calls. I think it was about it was about slowing the Lions down and breaking up their momentum. If I was going to make a bet in the first half, I would have thought the Lions would have won that game. Not that it was particularly great to watch. But I would have thought the Lions would have come into that second half like the last two games and run away with it. But I think the momentum gave the Springboks the time to again impose their will on the Lions team and go into that second half like it was the first half really again. So I mean, I think breaking it up and doing what South African teams do so well is what they got out of it.
Do either of you guys actually watch the whole hour-long episode?
I started. I took a little break and then go back. Mate, it's
thank God for that like plus 30-second button, eh? Like just
it's a long one. It's really weird. Really weird.
It was so strange.
Yeah,
it was how weird
really
was it?
Strange. Yeah.
Did you watch it, Matt?
The Rassie, absolutely not. No.
It was honestly, it was one of the. I didn't know what it was to start with. I was like, "What is this?" And then when you started to click through it, and some of it was so petty as well.
Like most bloody forwards team meetings, to be honest. It's like
exactly.
That's what it looks like. And now we're going to watch the scrum again. Again.
Yeah, he's been pretty quiet on social media now this week, hasn't he? I don't think I've seen anything from Rassie.
Yeah, he must have felt the stick. But he did, I don't know. I don't know if he was being a strategic evil genius or not, but it seems like that's what he did. And I think Gats knew it, like when he was speaking to the press about it, I haven't really thought about it. That's interesting. Those kinds of phrases. I think in a different situation, Gats would have gone, hats off to you. So I don't know. It definitely had an effect.
Now Dan Biggar, I think he made 3 passes the entire game. How can that happen, Tommy? Like, was that a tactic from Gatland?
Hold on, Gatland.
Yeah.
Tommy, who like
remember
one of Tooney's stats?
Oh yeah, true, yeah. I didn't think of that.
I'll let you put it out there, not me.
No.
What was the stat?
Listen, you thrive in the controversy, Geese.
No. Gregor Townsend's stats.
Yeah. You go ahead, Wills. No, you'll explain it better.
No, tell him.
I'm very interested.
Gregor's very much interested in the kicking side of the game as well. So a lot of rugby supporters, a lot of media will look at that and think that it was maybe a solely Warren Gatland tactic to go and try and beat the Springboks at what is essentially their game, which is heavy pressure on the kicking side and force them to make mistakes in their side of the field and capitalize on their mistakes and enforce pressure that way. But Tooney's a big fan of that as well. He looks at statistics across the world and he'll sort of say, look, like if we kick the ball this amount of times compared to this one, this is the win percentage ratio. And he did a lot with Gies will say he did a lot of work with us, in a Scotland camp around that as well. So I'm with Ryan. I think there'll be an impact from Tooney there as well.
I'll give you his stat was basically if you kick the ball more than the opposition, you effectively win the game in Test rugby. And like he showed all these games, and actually when you look back at it, you're like, yeah, it makes sense. But we were like, it's obviously not as easy as that. You just can't just go right. They've had 15. We better just smack it a couple more times to get to 16 and win the game. But his stats ended up when he showed it to us.
But if you look at the great New Zealand teams, everyone thinks of New Zealand as being this incredible ball playing like Disneyland rugby type team, and it is the case from the point of view that they can offload through a keyhole, but it's not true when you actually analyze the game, how they play it. And I think that's what, that's the big crux for me. It's like how you're managing the game and where you're kicking and where you're putting the pressure on and when you're building the momentum and when you're taking the momentum down, to be able to do that and really again, enforce your will upon a team is it will allow you to play in the right areas of the field. The old cliche, you've got to play rugby in the right areas of the field. I think that's what's going to win this game on the weekend. It's difficult for the Lions because, you know, they didn't get parity in the scrum in the second half. I think Kitsoff and Malherbe are stronger. I think their line out, you would say that they're pretty much evenly matched in the line out. So to play the kind of game that you need to play in an opposition's half, and to deal with the defenses that you see, you know, these like big rush defenses, you have to be able to get it out of your half. And to do that, you need your pack to function. And you know, that didn't happen in the second half for the Lions. And I think that's where it was, you know, where it was broken down.
Hold on, how many times do we see them get into the opposition half though, and Dan Bigger, like 40 metres out, 30 metres out, and just go, right, let's smash a high ball on them? What? Yeah. No, just carry on playing with the ball. It just made the game so boring. And that's what I agree. What's so frustrating was how they would get in their half and then they'd be like, let's just make them make a mistake. And
I agree with you. I was nonplussed by that. Like I don't understand why when you're in the right area of the field, you're not playing. I suppose that was essentially my argument, using New Zealand as an example. You know, they play a huge amount of rugby in the last quarter of the field. They just don't play a huge amount in the other three. And that's where it was odd. And it can the British and Irish Lions learn those mistakes in a week? Yeah, I think they can. I think teams can bounce back, and the selections that they've made, you're bringing fresh people in. I wouldn't have made those selections, but you know, looking at it from just kind of studying it today, I think maybe it's just another stroke of tactical genius to do what they're doing.
And now Mike, the last time we had Mike Brown on, he was very worried about Hogg going to the high ball. And he was right to be worried about Hogg in the end. Tommy, what did you make of Hogg?
Everyone has bad days, you know, and being under high ball, it's a hard day. And look, I mean, to say that Hoggy's not good under the high ball, I mean, that kind of just does him a large disservice, to be honest, because I think you can look back even as recently as the Six Nations, you know, that's not exactly true. You know, Hoggy by his own, I'm sure by his own high standards, won't have been happy with some of the impacts he would have liked if Gatland had on the game, but it's disappointing for him. But certainly it's a lot easier to sit back and say, oh, well, you should catch that high ball when it's been smashed 50 meters in the air and you've got an entire South African team coming at you. You know, it's a lot easier said than done going up. And I think across the board as well, you know, the high ball wasn't dealt with by the entire team. So I think to pin it on sort of one or two individuals will be a bit harsh.
Yeah, you look at the first game as well, Tom. First game, he was solid on the high ball. He dropped one high ball in the first game. So everyone will look at that last game and say that, you know, he messed up there. But they're going to be doing the same this week. I know, obviously, Hoggy's not starting, so it'd be interesting. Liam Williams is very good on the high ball, but when you've got that much pressure getting rained down on you, these boys will be feeling it even more, won't they?
I'll tell you what, Sanjay will be feeling it this week as well, because the whole dialogue all week now since Hoggy's had that game is put Liam Williams in. He's the safest person on the high ball, and Liam Williams is unbelievable under high ball. But now he's going to the game cut cheaper. So if there wasn't enough pressure already, you know, there is definitely, because I've basically been touted as a guy who never drops a ball. So fair play to him. I wouldn't want to, you know, he'll handle the pressure well, but certainly like you wouldn't be jealous of him. How
is it possible that Colby, who is 5'6", is more efficient at taking the high balls than, say, Watson, who's 6'2"?
I think this is where, like, I'll laugh. I don't know about you two, like anyone reading the media this week. It's suddenly we've gone from, like, you know, touting these guys as, you know, the best, this, that, and the other, to 1 week, one poor game, and now suddenly we're saying, oh well, you know, the likes of Anthony Watson isn't as capable under a ball as Ches and Colby. Like, Anthony Watson is unbelievable under the high ball. It does it every week. Everyone, we're all human beings. Like, we have off days at work. We have days where we wish we'd done better. But to say that, you know, suddenly, you know, Anthony Watson's incapable of doing something as well as, you know, Ches and Colby, definitely when it comes to an aerial game, it's just, in my mind, it's just a it's just maybe a little bit over the top as to what's actually happened.
Maybe Anthony Watson should have fired one of those warning shots that Colby did. Take his legs out whilst he's in the air. And then you start to panic a bit more. That's, that could be part of it. He's no way. I know what he's doing. He's looking up at the ball, but that's like, he knows what he's doing there, Tom. Because usually you're jumping for the ball. He's expecting whoever's going up for that ball to be on the floor with him. No chance. He should have been off the floor trying to compete for it. I know he's done well by keeping his eyes up, but he knows what he's doing there. He knows what he's up to. So that puts a little bit of fear into those back three as well when they're going up. To be fair, Conor Murray took that one well. Shouldn't have put his arm out though. Kept his arm in, take it on the head. That would have been a red card, I reckon.
But if he kept his arm in and took it on the head, would he not have potentially like broken his neck, all for the sake of maybe a red card?
We do loads of neck strengthening stuff, loads of it. Would have been all right.
Ryan, all those experiences in the backfield, just going up with those fingers that can't catch change. Look at his little fingers. Bless him.
What, you can't play golf?
That's one of my favorite things about Ryan. Is one of my most entertaining experiences is watching Ryan at a cash register when he's getting change in the shop after buying a Diet Coke or something, and all the change just falls through his fingers because he's incapable of clenching his fist enough to get in the thing. So all he hears is rattling down on the floor, and he got to a point where he was just like, just put the change in the charity bin, mate.
Ryan. Well, Ryan, there were an awful lot of handbags thrown. You would have been in your element. So who and what stood out for you? I know you kind of just mentioned the Colby tackle there.
There was loads of them. I couldn't believe it, but Hoggy was even involved in at one point. And so that shows that everyone was up for it. Hoggy was diving in there. It was interesting, the stuff that came out afterwards about the biting stuff. Hoggy's not a biter, I know that for a fact. And so again, is that just pettiness? A lot of it, I guess, is from the media. I don't know who came out, but I'm guessing the South African, who was it that got bitten by Sinclair that he reckoned?
It was just came on the field. Mostert, wasn't it?
Mostert, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch those little bits, and that's the sort of thing that would cause a scuffle to kick off, and it didn't. So that's when you look back and go, well, if he's actually bitten him, you'd be chasing that. Yeah, but you'd be chasing him down, like 100%, you'd be chasing him down.
Like, you'd be making so much a bigger deal of that. Like if someone bit you and you knew it had happened in that ruck, you wouldn't. There's no way everyone's getting up from that with nothing.
Shall I tell you the most shameful part of all those scuffles, though?
You weren't there.
No, Dan Bigger. Do we? No one see that? Oh, no, it was horrific. Proper Italian job, like from the football. Someone comes in, gives him a little dunk in the back, the proper dive, fall on the floor, rolling around. Not even 5 seconds later, he's back up on his feet going, "Whoa, look what he did!" Like properly diving, which really? I cannot stand that. I cannot stand that in rugby. If you get a good one in the back and you actually feel it, you're going to stay down. But it was 5 seconds later, he had a little dive, roll around the floor. It was as bad as Hoggy's dive against South Africa back in the World Cup, Tommy. It was on that level. Bless him. We probably shouldn't put that in there because he's had it tough enough.
They should bring in ice hockey rules,
you'd love that.
That would extend Ryan's career by 5 years. He wouldn't even be interested in playing rugby. He'd just go on and put an extra mouth guard in on his bottom teeth, and that'll be him.
Yeah, it'll stop the kind of cheap shotters as well. Those guys.
Enforcer.
The enforcer.
You've been watching Ice Guardians, haven't you, Matt?
Yeah.
Have you seen Ice Guardians on Netflix?
Documentary.
Oh, man.
Is it awesome?
My favorite documentary ever, and it's all about how they tried to take that out of the game, tried to take fighting out, and then the cheap shots just got worse.
Exactly. So it stops the cheap shots.
Hey, I've tried to put it in it. I said just one punch a game, but everyone laughed it off.
You did? No, I thought it would be entertaining. We got given out to, though. What else did you try and bring in?
Was that the only thing? It was more Jamie was like, can you imagine the 12-year-olds on a Sunday afternoon at rugby being allowed one punch each? I said, no, you bring it in over 18s, obviously.
Yeah, it's a pity.
There was a few good ones we brought in, but yeah, I reckon just get rid of the TMOs as well. Speed the game. Did we not run all our ideas by Nigel and he pretty much shot them all down? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But then again, people haven't been too happy with him, have they? And his comments, they're saying that, you know, having Nigel commentating on the games is just bringing all these little decisions, you know, even more into the fray. So I don't know. I quite liked it, but
I like it.
That's what Rassie did though by his hour-long rant. Like he made everyone then be like, oh, I'm gonna pause it there. I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna see that. They're looking for now. Everyone who's just wanting to watch a game of rugby is watching out for all the small, minute, and judging every decision and making a call, and just extends. What was it? Something like 12 or 14 minutes of TMO referrals or something like that from the game.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
How do we stop? How do we stop it though? How do we change it? Like, do they just get rid of the TMO? Do they say that? Like, I don't know how to get rid of it. That was the interesting thing about rugby, was all those little decisions that didn't quite go the team's way that you could look at the end of the game. Now it's just like we look at everything with a microscope, and it's just dragging the game out like you wouldn't believe. I mean, some of the big decisions with the tries and stuff, fine, but some of the other
but I think that's where Matt's right in terms of what Rassie did though, because he probably put that in the back of his head. So the ref knows that he's in this pressure scenario and he doesn't want to get something wrong, so he refers it because he's got the ability to do it, and because he's able to do that at the bigger ones, he doesn't want to be sort of seen as someone else that's getting analysed for an hour the following week. He's like, well, I'll refer it because why would I risk getting it wrong with everything that's going on?
Pollard missed 5 points from the tee, but how good was his kick for the first try? Were you impressed?
Pretty decent skill.
It wasn't a high ball. It was actually, in the context of the game, it was beautiful. It was one of the most marvellous things I've ever seen. If you watch the whole game and all the kicks, suddenly you're like, what is that? Was that a little attacking kick rather than smash it as hard as you can, hope someone drops it? So yeah, Christina, it was beautiful. It was a thing of absolute beauty.
You enjoyed that.
Old mate Hoggy missed a tackle, afterwards. But when someone's going at that pace, you haven't got much hope. So yeah, hey, bring Finn Russell on. He'll do the same this week.
And now we did touch off this controversial touch point a little bit earlier, but Van der Merwe was given a yellow card for his deliberate trip on Colby. And then 2 minutes later, Colby then found himself in the sin bin after deliberately taking Murray out of the air. I think, Ryan, you think that Connor should have just, took it on the neck, got in the round?
No, I actually don't, because that would go against everything I'm saying. That would be milking it.
Do you not, Ryan? No. Okay.
No, because not because I'm worried about him hurting himself. More because I wouldn't want him to milk a penalty. But Van der Merwe's trip's obvious. We've all been put in that position when someone does you a kipper and you're like, right, just stick the foot out and hopefully no one sees it. Whereas, like we've seen, they're going to check absolutely everything now. So, I sometimes undo people's shoelaces in rucks. I wonder if they'd look for that and I get sent off for that now. That's a worry. Thinking about, I'm going to have to stop doing that.
How do you have the time to undo somebody's lace in a ruck?
When he's got tiny little hands. He's got tiny little hands that are. He's found it more
difficult over the years. As his fingers have come further apart, he's found it more difficult though. He's had to work out how to do it with his thumb and his index finger, and it's just done.
There's the untime, but then if you can get them back together and tie them, you've done your job. But no, when you're down at the bottom of a ruck, you're taking a breather. Matt will know plenty of that. Right. These are the ones where they look back at the footage and go, "What? Why are you not getting up?" And you're like, "Because so and so's on top of me," and you've got just his arm sort of there, and you're like, "Yeah, no chance. I wasn't getting up. He was holding me down." You take a little breather here and there, and you see a bootlace with a different coloured sock. You're undoing it. It's what a pain in the arse having to do your socks up, do your laces up, especially with things like this. If someone did it to me, I'd be absolutely screwed. Yeah. So you imagine Johnny Gray doing that to Johnny Gray, Tommy. He uses a special tool to tighten his laces. Right, Johnny Gray gets his bootlace tightener tool before a game and wrenches his boots on as tight as possible. I don't know how there's any blood in his feet, but you undo his laces in a game, his head's gone. He's gone. He's going off. He's off. He's like, get me on the bench for 5 minutes. I need to redo these boots up.
So this is the extent of your professional fouling. Or is it?
I'm worried is they're going to start looking into this. They're going to start going.
That is the weirdest segue off. Should Chaz and Colby have got a red card?
Ryan unties bootlaces. Yeah.
Ryan unties bootlaces.
So yeah, what I'm saying is, Van der Merwe, 100% yellow card. You can't put your foot out and trip people up. even though, you know, and I don't think it's that dangerous, but you're not allowed. And Ches and Colby, definitely yellow card, possible red had he not been faking looking up at the ball. What a shame, eh? What a shame we're sat here talking about what should have been, and because there was absolutely no rugby played except for a couple kicks that were good attacking kicks. But this is what it's come to.
But it just seems there were so many incidents that like happened, but none of it seemed to be spotted or cited. Like, what was it? Like Maro Itoje deliberately seemed to kneel on the throat of Damien Delande, but it wasn't picked up by the siding commissioners. Did you not think that was deliberate?
Yeah, it wasn't with much force, was it?
But are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to do that now?
If you're trying to get up,
is Ryan allowed to do that, or is anyone allowed to do that?
Tommy, is anybody allowed to do that? I'm assuming Ryan likes to do that.
No, I'm not going to sell my old mate down the river. No, Ryan undoes bootlaces and nothing else. No,
we've had many people on that would argue differently to that.
Really? I'm still debating whether or not it's. I mean, I can understand where his knee is, you know, in relation to, you know, his neck, and that's obviously not great. But I'm still debating whether or not there's sort of a deliberate intent to do what he's being accused of. And I think you go down the citing route, and it's in terms of like photographic video evidence of it compared to something like Sinclair's, who, you know, actually got cited. They must have deemed it, you know, that it's obviously not been done in a malicious or on purpose. So yeah, it is
very well answered.
Isn't this? And I think sometimes, isn't it, when they play it back in slow-mo, it always does tend to look worse than if it was in real time as well. So
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like it. I mean, there is to a degree, it's this rugby incident thing which still exists in rugby. Like, you can't eradicate every sort of questionable looking thing in a contact sport. Like, things do happen, and you know, they obviously deemed it not necessary to go any further. So why should we?
Guys, what is the cheekiest illegal act that you've ever seen on a pitch go unpunished?
Boom.
I've played against multiple French teams that have fish hooked, and that's not cheeky. But I've been in a mall where a digit has come quite close to my nether parts to change the course of the driving maul.
You're coming this way, pal. What, to take it down, or like left to right?
I don't think you've got me right. I'm saying the finger up the bum.
Oh, right. I was thinking someone pulling
on
those bits.
That happens anywhere. Like,
so it was a...
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. And were you not cited for some...
How exciting.
Ryan, were you not cited for some ball play?
Then you kind of look forward to it, but it doesn't happen again. But
I think that would make me go faster. I reckon I'd go faster forward if someone did that. Oh! Ball just straight over. Cheers, pal. Thanks for the help.
I don't know how.
Ryan, you're still playing. You don't want to put ideas into somebody else's head now.
Cheeky thumb. I don't think I'd mind it. Yeah, no, I got done for grabbing Lee Dixon's testicles once. But never got cited for it because it was accidental.
Lee would have deserved this as well.
Yeah, he was being annoying at the side of the scrum, and I sort of grabbed him to stop him getting around and managed to grab hold of something.
Yeah.
John Barkley, I reckon against John Barkley, I've managed to get my whole digit up his nostril once in a ruck for a laugh. Just like shoved my finger as far up his nose as I could. We grope each other's nether regions quite a lot when we play each other. Do you remember what game was that where someone grabbed someone's balls? Someone grabbed Alan Wynne-Jones's balls, was it? In a game
Marla, it was Marla.
As a joke, and there was a massive thing kicked off about it. But,
Marla, yeah.
But
it was Marla.
When you're good mates and Barks is at the bottom of a ruck, I'm straight in there, grabbing hold of it, trying to pull it. Get off.
Rugby.
Yeah, so that's what you.
It's rugby. It's rugby, guys.
It's more when
rugby.
You're down there in there with your mates, you know.
Oh, you boys.
People you don't know, you just untie their laces.
I feel quite lucky at this point. I'm playing on the wing. I've not had to experience pretty much any of what has just been described. So I'm very fortunate. My career has been spent in the wider channels.
Okay, well, moving on. We have ourselves a big series decider this weekend, and Gatland has made 6 changes to the starting 15 for the final test. Thoughts on the shake-up?
Oh, so
Tommy?
exciting.
Ryan? Go on.
Okay, I'll go. Finn Russell, how good. Finn's back in. So excited.
And you bitched and moaned about somebody else last week, and now...
Yeah, obviously, but that was... I knew that was going to happen, especially after the weekend. Ali Price back in at 9. I just hope that Pricey and Finn play at the same time, because they've got that synergy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier. When you were talking about Biggar hoisting a high ball with about 30 meters out, and I was thinking, well, does the tactic change then? If the 10 stays the same, is Ali just going to be feeding? Do you know what I mean? Is Ali just going to be feeding, Biggar to do the same thing again?
No, but that's why Aki's in there. They put that Bundy Aki in there to just smash it up. So it's not going to get hoisted up. It's just going to get smashed up by Aki, and they're going to try and play around the corner after that. I'm excited
to see Aki. I think Ryan, people must listen to this podcast, influential people, because I wanted Aki, you wanted Ali back, and we both got our way.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. That's literally the only reason, not to do with the game at the weekend.
I would have liked to, I'm the same as you, Will. So I'm delighted to see Finn back in.
Interesting.
Did any of the decisions surprise you?
Van der Merwe, I'll be honest, I didn't know if he'd be starting again.
Yeah, I think that's a bit unfair. I mean, I think he's in the form, one of the form backs in the tournament. I think he had a poor game. I think he was rattled. I think he'll want to prove something. And if you're talking about gain line advantage again there, and I agree with that sentiment, I think to beat the Springboks, you have to win the gain line. And they weren't doing that. So I don't think that's a bad choice. I think it's the right choice.
They've just not really gotten involved that much, though, have they?
Well, I think if you, from a back three perspective, I look at it and go, yeah, okay, the high ball was something that was, quite easily picked upon as a weak point. And South Africa, no doubt about it, will go after it again, because why would you change something that's not broke? But by the same token, they didn't really get an opportunity, any of them, to get the ball wide. You talked about the statistics in terms of the number of passes Biggar had. Those three and all the back three are attacking their attacking mindset. You want to be getting them with space in the wide channels, and none of them had an opportunity to do it. So, it's a bit unfortunate for anyone who has to drop out when they realistically haven't had anything to do but catch a high ball. And great for, I suppose, Duan and his mindset, because he'll be able to go, well, if I can get some ball, then I've got a point to prove.
I would have liked to seen Jamie George in this, and that is coming from a place of having played with him. But I just think his all-round game in the scrum and throwing darts, I think he's brilliant, and I think he's great around the pitch. And it's just a shame that he hasn't had any game time. I wouldn't have thought that going into this tournament. And then, I don't really understand taking Mako off. I thought he played really well. I think that is the combination between Owens and Wyn Jones. I think that they've got a plan there in the scrum to do something awkward with Malherbe, to take him out of his comfort zone. I think that's what they're going to try and do, and make it difficult for the packs, for that kind of weight, that weighted advantage they have in the scrum, or at least I think they have in the scrum.
Sorry, just on that, Matt. Well, do you know what I would have done? I would have had Cam Dickey out the team and had Jamie George on the bench with Vunipola, bring them on together, because, like I see, South Africans they all play together, that front row.
Yeah. So it's so crucial that there's combinations of players coming in, and that's what he's done with Owens and Jones. And so I'm not going to, I'm not questioning Gats' strategy. It's Australia all over again. There's some big changes. I mean, you're not having a Brian O'Driscoll being taken out of the team. No one's up in arms about the team he selected now. But 6 changes is big. I agree. I think Ali Price is the right. I think it's the right the right call for this game, and I thought he played brilliantly last week. So, and it's going to be interesting because I think the 9 battle is going to be absolutely crucial.
I think there was only two changes made to the starting 15 for the Springboks, and they were injury forced.
Yeah, and I think Faf is huge for the Springboks. I think he's a huge leader in that team. He controls their momentum, and Kobus Ryan, I played with him at the Sharks. He's an unbelievable athlete, but he doesn't have the nuance, or at least didn't when I played with him, and I haven't seen it. He's brilliant coming off the bench, and really good at really good for the Sharks. But I just see if against the Lions, that's where they could really target, because that could break up the Springboks momentum, and it's probably one of the only areas I see the Lions, having a chance at winning this game, is to break down that combination between 9 and 10, and not let them get the kind of game they want to get going. Just one point on the scrum I had was I really don't think they should take Tag off too early. I think they need to leave him on for a bit longer. I think he came off at 55 minutes. I think changing this, against the Springboks, when you've got parity like that, it was the wrong call for me. And I think he needs to come off at 60 if he has to come off. And then you bring Sinclair on, who's great. Don't get me wrong, but either start him or bring him on when he can make an impact in the last 20. Don't bring him on for a fresh Springbok front row, and you've changed the hookers and you've changed the hookers around as well.
Score predictions. I want your score predictions for this Saturday.
I think you don't really want to say it, do you? But I think South Africa might win it.
So I'm gonna let's back Finn to come on, just produce a little bit of magic maybe and win it. I'm going as I think it's going to be I think it's going to be unbelievably tight again, because I don't think anyone thinks the Springboks are going to change their tactics. They're going to do the same thing as they did last week and hope to, for Pollard or Ryan to have a little dart through the middle and pick up a try or two. But I reckon the Lions, obviously, they didn't manage to get across the whitewash. I don't think that'll happen again. So I reckon there'll be a few tries in it.
Hard, isn't it?
Yeah, man. I'm thinking it's a 2-point game, something like a 21-19 for the Lions.
I was going to say 21-20.
I was going to say 21-19 for the Lions. I honestly think it's going to be right down to the wire type stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be less points scored.
Do you genuinely think the Lions will win, though, Matt?
I think they can win.
But do you think they will win?
Hey, listen. Of course they can win.
No. Often teams go into this and they absolutely can't win. I think, given the injuries, Steph Tutoy, not that he played for very long in the last test, and Faf, I think those are big, crucial men for them. They don't have a huge amount of depth. I think we have got guys in this Lions team who could pull. It happens. They could pull a storm and play at the level they have been playing for their countries and clubs. So I think the new guys coming in will bring that energy, and I think it would be, I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be like the 2007 World Cup final. I think it's going to be that tight. South Africa are going to get shocked. And I'm being positive here, but I think South Africa are going to get shocked in that first half, but it's just going to be penalties back and forth, and then someone's going to come through with a try in the second half.
What's the score going to be?
Yeah, what is your score?
15-6.
I'm going 3-3 draw. I'm going to go 3-3 draw. I'm not really. Nah. I'm going to go.
You think 21-17, 21-19, Tom, right?
Yeah, so 21-19 to the Lions.
21-19, and I might have reversed that score to the Africa, but I honestly think Faf is such a miss in terms of their kicking game, and that's what that is what their bread and butter is.
I completely agree. I think,
and with Faf out, I just think that will benefit the Lions more so, and it might only be 1 or 2 kicks that go a bit too long or a bit awry that the Lions capitalise on, but I just think he's their fulcrum, which everything goes through. I think with him missing, it swings back in the Lions' favour.
Okay, so everyone thinks the Lions are going to do it this
Ryan hasn't given a score yet, though.
Yeah, I've got my score. I'm going 20 points to the Lions, and I'm going to go 13 to South Africa, just because Faf de Klerk's not playing, and he's a pain in the arse, and he's not going to. Who's going to start their fights? So he's what gets them riled up. He gets them riled up, and they're not going to have him. So yeah, Faf de Klerk out. The Lions win 20 points to, what did I say?
13.
Oh dear. Anyway, right, moving on. Tommy, 2017 Lions tour, you were the top try scorer. How amazing was that experience in New Zealand?
It was awesome. I think that's what almost makes me almost more sympathetic to what the guys are having to go through now, because I think you've had some guys on here before that talked about the experience you get when you actually get to fully immerse yourself into another country's culture, and you have that traveling fan, tidal wave that comes with the Lions across with you, and it's such an unbelievable sight, an unbelievable experience that these guys will never. Being a Lion this time around, is in terms of what it is and what it means as a player, that's never going to diminish. But in terms of the overall experience, that's something that can't really be, replicated. And it's unfortunate that what's happened, and I know there's, much bigger things going on in the world than being able to go out and watch a rugby match. But from my perspective, 2017 was unbelievable. Like nothing I've ever sort of witnessed really on a rugby scale. Very, very special to be a part of.
And tell me now, who was your best and worst roommate on that tour?
I think everyone would probably say, if they roomed with me, that I was the worst roommate. I think.
Oh, don't be so honest.
Why would they say that?
Because he stinks. No, it doesn't really. He'll get upset by that. It doesn't really smell.
No. Like I'm a little bit quieter probably than. I'm not particularly. I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. So I think Ross Moriarty, I remember him saying something that I was sketchy or something like that. I was like, what does that mean? And I was sketchy apparently. So
creepy, I think he meant.
Yeah, maybe creepy. Yeah. Best roommate, Robbie Henshaw, I'd say. Probably roomed with him in Wellington. Unbelievably nice guy, really easy to get along with, makes a really good cup of tea with a couple of Tim Tams. Worst roommate was, just because he said I was sketchy, and I don't really know what that means, Ross Moriarty.
Did you ever ask Ross did you ever ask him what he meant by sketchy? Sketchy means so many different things.
Yeah, I know. That's maybe what threw me.
What does it mean in Wales then?
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know. Like,
sketchy boy.
I think I did ask him. And I think he said something like it was because I was always up really early and like dressed way before and down waiting in like before meetings or something really early. It was a bit. I don't know. I don't really get what he meant. To be honest.
Is it because you always wear Skechers shoes? Because you wear those Skechers shoes all the time.
Right, yeah, because of my collapsed arches. Yeah, it's my Skechers.
It's because Skechers and those wheelies.
Skechers, Skechers, feel free as an ambassador role comes up.
Matt's there like, what's wrong with Skechers?
No, there's nothing wrong with Skechers.
Tom, did you obviously have you toured New Zealand before, previous to the Lions, and not after? No,
never. That was my one and only experience in New Zealand. So I think.
What did you think?
Unbelievable. It's kind of like it's old school, isn't it? Like sort of. It feels like it's a little. In some ways, it's a little bit like
back in time.
Yeah, a little bit back in time. Yeah, it was really unique. Though you wander around some places, and it feels like you're going back in time a little bit.
Did you do the obligatory Queenstown
Yeah, mate, that is one hell of a place. That we went up there for a couple of days in between, just for a bit of a respite. So there was a bit of training towards the end. We got a couple of days just to do our own thing, and that place is unreal. But yeah, like they're so into their rugby. That's the thing. I mean, they're so into. You're sitting there watching one of the tests, and like the fans are, you know, like I mean, you talk about armchair critics. Like they basically play with the team, if that makes sense. Their mentality is that they're on the field with them, so they look at you as like the ultimate enemy.
Yeah, I remember going to get a haircut, and the guy cutting your hair knew more about the tactics for the game than you did, and you just come out of a team meeting, you know. So they're absolutely obsessed. And I don't think, I mean, the Lions boys now aren't getting to meet the South Africans. I don't think the South Africans are that dissimilar from the Kiwis. But yeah, I must say I really enjoyed the Lions tour. I went on to New Zealand, but haven't particularly enjoyed. And I think that's because of the fans. I think there's something really special about Lions fans and the camaraderie and the almost like amateuresque take on the tour. You feel like they're part of your team. Even the press is even easier. You know, going to New Zealand with England, the World Cup there, it wasn't the same experience at all.
Matt, were you there? Matt, were you there when Manu ended up in the harbour as well?
Yeah.
Do you want to fill us in on that?
I don't know. Did he just jump off a boat?
Yeah, he just jumped off a boat. It wasn't actually that bad, except he jumped.
I think, yeah, because we've asked the questions before and they've always gotten shot down. So then I was always like, oh, there must be an insane story. But what? He just jumped off the boat and that was it.
I think he had a big night out and he tried to sober up in the harbour.
Yeah, in a ferry terminal, so slightly dangerous, but if you're all right swimming, it's not dangerous, is it?
Yeah. Now, Tommy, you played alongside Ryan for a decade at Glasgow, and I'm assuming one of the many highlights was winning the Pro 12 in 2015. So, can you tell us what your memories are of the celebrations that night?
I'd love to say I had memories. No, because it was a bit of an anticlimax, wasn't it, Geese? Because we obviously won it, amazing. Change room, amazing. Got the bus back, everyone's in brilliant. We're meant to be straight back to the airport of Belfast, hopping on a flight straight back to Glasgow. Everything's organised. We're thinking happy days. We get to the airport. We're sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, there might be a slight delay with the plane, guys." And we're all at this point, there's no booze left. There's nothing to eat. Boys are starving because we went to fly straight back. So I remember we were sitting in that Cafe Nero or something like that, at the check-in desks in Belfast International Airport. Not a soul in the place, obviously, than us. And we were just sitting in Cafe Nero for about 2 hours, like with nothing. And we just won a final, nothing. We ended up bussing it back because the plane didn't fly. Ended up bussing it back to the hotel. And we sat in actually, to be fair, it was fair. We hung out with each other. It was a good laugh. And we sat in reception in the Stormont Hotel and we ordered pizzas in and we had loads of booze. And then we went back to the bedrooms to get about an hour or two sleep before the actual flight left. To realise there's no bed linen on the because they hadn't banked on us coming back. No bed linen, no pillows, no nothing. So I'm waking up next to DTH and we're still in our, fully in our suits or our ones or whatever it was, like just lying on top of these mattresses. But so yeah, it was a bit of an anticlimax. Don't get me wrong, we had a great night out the next 2 nights, but for the actual night,
we sent all the wives and partners now on the plane, and we got them out of the way. The girls thought we'd fixed it. They were like, "Sorry, what's going on?" They'd already taken off, so at least they were out of the question. We could go back and enjoy ourselves together.
I completely forgot. Yeah, they went back on a different plane. Like it was just the players' plane. They didn't go back, and it looked like we planned it for about a month, but nah.
Actually, before we go, we did have a competition last week, thanks to Canterbury for a Lions Dash, and the winner of that competition is Bristol Bears fan Michael Evans. Congratulations, Michael!
Evo.
And that is it from us. Thanks to Ryan Wilson, Matt Stevens, and Tommy Seymour. And thanks to you for listening. More offloading next week. Make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a rating and review if you can. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube as well. Thanks, guys. Every time, Ryan.
See ya. Thanks.
What's that plaster on your finger?